as long as you have a vision of where you want to go, I think that that makes it all the more easier to simply trust the process.
Welcome, Chey. We're so happy to have you here on the podcast today. Thank you for joining us. Can you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, what it is you're doing right now, and what life's been like these days?
Sure. So thank you both for having me, Melissa and Katie. You guys are awesome. And congratulations again to both of you ladies on starting this podcast because I personally love podcasts. And we need another one to listen to, definitely, because there's so many things going on. And, this is definitely a form of therapy. This is one of the main reasons why I look for podcasts. So, again, thank you for that. I am Cheyenne Ross, but people call me Chey or Chey. And I am a new mom. I am a fiance, a wife to be, and I'm living in the 2020 pandemic. um, and I am learning a lot as far as how to maneuver through motherhood. In lieu of all of that, I was able to birth a business called Bubs by the Case, which has been inspired by my little sunshine, Kason, as he suffers from eczema. Thankfully, it's gotten better with my $1 million idea of Bubs by the Case. So I'm super thankful for that. And we have been serving customers throughout the 5 boroughs. And I'm also thankful for that as well, too, because I didn't expect for our business to pick up so quickly, but it has. And we've only been in business for, I want to say, a month and a half. And things have been really great. So I am looking forward to the other great things that are going to come out of Bubs by the Case. This week, I actually had to, Robert, my fiance, we had to decide to postpone our wedding ceremony to a later date because of this whole corona situation. So this week, that's what we've been dealing with. And it's been, kind of annoying and frustrating because I mean, at least for me, like when I want something and like I have like my mind made up about something, and I'm like, okay, like this is what I'm going to do. This is how we're going to do it. I know how it's going to get executed. And then it's like, no matter how optimistic you are, no matter, how positive you try to be, like it just can't happen. So that was definitely a bummer for me this week.
Yeah. I feel like Corona, I feel like some of the people that are even, like your life kind of goes smoothly, there's not like a whole lot of hiccups or anything. This thing is affecting everybody in some way.
Right.
There's like nobody out there. I would challenge someone to find someone who has not been affected at all by this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's definitely teaching us to adapt in new ways and do things differently and get used to disappointments faster. Things like that have been the common theme, I feel.
Right. Certainly. But I think what's really important in this particular season is just like learning how to adapt to change, and then just knowing that certain things are necessary, like whatever we're experiencing right now, just know that it's necessary for whatever's to come later. So right now it's just like a waiting process. And that's just that. We have to learn to accept that, no matter how uncomfortable or frustrating it may be.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just like, I don't know, there's so much going on for everybody that's unexpected. So you just kind of have to roll with the punches right now. And
Right. No, definitely. And also too, I will say, I'm even thankful because things could always be so much worse, like I could have had, the coronavirus, God forbid, like someone close to me could have had it, but thank God, like we don't. So I'm super thankful for that. So when I put things into perspective in that sense, it like makes me feel a whole lot better. It's like, listen, it's just postponing a day. Like it's not a big deal. Like we're still gonna get married on the 22nd on paper. We're just not gonna have a ceremony until like later on, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Being able to accept it and have gratitude for the things that are going well in your life is definitely a strong mindset to be able to hold.
Yeah,
Yes.
we talked about that with one of our other guests, my cousins Olivia and Philip, and because they had to postpone their wedding as well. And it really
Wow.
gives you, I feel like it gives you a chance to like strip everything down and just realize like what's really important about everything. And the important part is that, like you said, you're going to get married, and that's what the whole day is about. So, whether you have to wait a little while to have the ceremony, it's definitely emotional, and it's something that you plan so long for and work so hard for. But at the end of the day, you're going to be married. So that's the important part.
Right. Right. And I would even, say this too, like I can't speak for other people, but I feel like this is appropriate to say, like I think that so many people, I know myself for sure, like we've gotten so like caught up in the planning of like a ceremony and like a gathering and like a social event that like we begin to lose focus on like what's really important or like what like the main goal is. And the main goal is, like it's two people joining in a union to celebrate, the love that they have for each other and things like that. So it's like it doesn't matter. Even like if we ever had like a celebration, like we are celebrating each other, so
He agrees.
Baby noise in the background. Oh,
listen, I know I can empathize. My little guy just turned 10 months old and he's a little chatterbox.
yeah. It's once they get going with the words and the movements and everything, they just don't want to stop. They figure out how to do something new and they just like don't stop. Wait until he's a toddler, Chey. You will see.
Oh my gosh.
They never shut up. They just keep talking and talking and talking, and you're like, oh my God, I know you just developed like the language center of your brain and know that you are learning new things and you like these words, but can you please give me 5 minutes of silence?
I love it. And that would even like bring me to, something else that is super important to me, and that is being a mom. Like I love being a mom. It has its ups and its downs, and of course like its surprises as well too. And a lot of things throughout this process has definitely been unexpected, but I am embracing all of it. It's like when you're like in math class and you're like struggling to like figure out a problem, and then you finally discover like how to figure out that problem and like you get the hang of it. Like that's how I feel about like motherhood.
It's like once you do that one thing that seems so hard one time, you're a master of it. You practice it a few more times, and then it's like, oh, I got this. This is old news.
Yes.
So exciting. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey with motherhood and how life has been postpartum? It's such a major transition in life. I know that you have blossomed the business out of your motherhood journey as well. So I would love to discuss that and what that journey's been like and just kind of your tips and tricks and lessons that you've learned along the way.
Definitely, definitely. So, okay, for starters, all right, my journey of motherhood. So, like I said, it's definitely been a journey. It hasn't always been the easiest, because throughout my pregnancy has like it was wonderful. Like I made up my mind from the beginning that I was going to be positive throughout the entire, experience. I said, I'm not going to allow anyone or anything to put any stress on me. And when I put my mind to that, like, that's just what it was. So I was like thankful for that. And it didn't get a little chaotic until the end. But like I said, for the most part, it was like really good. Another thing that I tried not to do is have any expectations. So, like, a lot of people, of course, mothers, they gave their like old wives' tales and things like that about like their like labor experience or whatever. And some of it was scary and some of it was pleasant. But of course, everybody's different. So I, again, try not to have any expectation because I knew that my experience was going to be different than the next mother's. So with that being said, boy, was it an experience because I didn't know when I was going into labor until I actually went into labor. Um, and then with that being said, we were like running errands and things like that. And I was just like, whoa, like this feeling just like came over me. And it was something that I've never experienced before because it's like my back was burning and it was just weird. And then Robert, he had like sympathy pains, as they call it. So he basically got sick. To make a long story short, at 5 o'clock in the morning, I was admitted into the hospital in the maternity ward or like in labor and delivery, and he was downstairs in emergency because they didn't know what was wrong with him. They were like running, they were running like all these tests on him and everything. And he's like, like, I have to be there for the birth. I have to be there for the birth. And then like as the time got closer, he came upstairs. He couldn't look at me because he started to feel sick all over again. But when the time came for me to push, like it's like he was a brand new person, like back to his like normal. It was like the weirdest thing ever. But overall, it was like interesting. And again, like that's different, compared to anyone else's experience. So that was a wonderful and interesting experience because I have a story to tell. And then from that, we had this beautiful baby boy who's like super funny and intelligent and all this stuff. So it's like really awesome. Fast forwarding postpartum, things were really put to the test as far as like me as a person, my emotions, my relationship, a lot of things. But it was like I had to try to learn him, meaning my fiance. I had to like learn him all over again. And then he had to like learn me as well too, because what people fail to tell you is that when you give birth, you go through a chemical imbalance. So with that being said, going through a chemical imbalance, your emotions are like up and down. It's hard to really focus on a lot of different things or just things that you used to focus on before in the past. So it was hard. It was rough. But like I said, for me, motherhood is like solving a math problem. Like once you figure one thing out, it's like you get the hang of it, and then it's like on to the next equation at that point. And like you said, Melissa, being a mom has birthed this business that was definitely unexpected, but I think it also had to do with the pandemic as well too, because I had all this idle time. So we went from TikToking in the beginning to now making soaps in our kitchen. And that's like, it was like, okay, like out of nowhere. But I'm thankful for that as well too, because I didn't expect for it to flourish the way that it's flourishing now. And it has become more than a hobby at this point. Like you said, it's a business, and it's something that I want to really give my all to, because again, like we've received so much support behind it. And just to elaborate a little bit on it, the brand is called Bubs by the Case. And it's basically a soap line that was inspired by Kason, my son, because he has eczema. When he was younger, I'll say it was worse than what it is now. We tried, a lot of over the counter things, things from like drugstores and everything, and they didn't work. Like, for example, the Aveeno lavender scented products did not work at all. If anything, it like made his skin flare up even more. And that was a bummer for me because being a new mom, you get all these gifts at your baby shower and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to try this. I can't wait to try that. So I was like, okay, that definitely is out. I knew that I didn't want to use any Johnson and Johnson products, so that was out as well too. Throughout my pregnancy, I had a doula, so I asked her, what did you use on your children? Because she too had a child that has eczema as well too. So she told me, try the regular Aveeno with the oatmeal in it and see how that works because it worked for her. So when I tried that, it worked to my surprise. And I was like, whoa, if like this is working only because of oatmeal, then I could just, find my own like soap base basically with like coconut oil and other like moisturizers that are like all natural, and then just add like colloidal oats into the mixture. And that's what I did. And to my surprise, again, it definitely helped with his eczema. Like his flare ups definitely minimized. And when I shared that good news with other people who also suffered from eczema as well too, they said, wow, like it works, like my skin is soft, it feels moisturized. Unlike other soaps, it doesn't dry the skin out. And I was like, okay, like this is really good. Like we're on to something here. So that has been my postpartum experience in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's hard to kind of sum it all up and be like, what is my postpartum experience? Because it's so many different things, right? Like, I'm sure when you first were seeing that Kaysen was struggling with eczema, that there was a lot of emotions around that. So what do you think really within those emotions prompted you to buckle down and start a business?
That's actually a really great question because in the beginning of, I'll say like the first 4 months of his life, again, those were super emotional months for me because you deal with things like the belly button, the stump falling off. That was an emotional experience for me because it didn't like it wasn't a 1, 2, 3 easy experience where it like just fell off. It I forgot what it was called, but when we went to the doctor, they said that it was something that was common within like African American boys, and it didn't heal like like the way that it normally would. So they had to go like the extra mile a little bit. I had to bring him to the doctor like a little bit more, and it looked weird to me. I guess my maternal instincts kicked in instantly, and it was just like, okay, like we need to fix this because it doesn't look right. So that was like the first like emotional roller coaster for me. Following that, we chose to get him circumcised. So that was emotional as well too, because I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, is it healing correctly? You just want to make sure that like you're doing all the right things that you need to do. Um, and then, oh my gosh, with the whole eczema situation, that was definitely emotional because when babies are first born, they go through so many different changes. Like every day they go through a different change. And with his skin being affected, I was like, oh my gosh, like we have to figure this out. And again, like it wasn't until my doula told me, to try that Aveeno, and I said, okay, like the oatmeal is what is, really helping in this situation. And then also like with my own research as well too, like I saw that oatmeal baths help with eczema and things like that, and I really wanted to try to use all natural and organic products and everything because his skin was so sensitive. So rather than depending on, or I'll even say this, rather than putting his his skin in this situation in someone else's hand, in a company or in a brand's hand, I said, why not put it in my own hands and just see what can happen? Because something else that people told me as well too, people meaning moms, they said, it's trial and error when you have a baby. Like, nothing is wrong or anything like that. You just try what you can until like you find the solution basically. And it's just a matter of, not psyching yourself out, but just following your gut. So I had to really put that into perspective and try to apply that as much as possible, because I tend to overthink a lot. And when they gave me that piece of advice, it was really helpful because it put me at ease as well too. I hope that answers your question. It was a bit long-winded.
Yeah, I like how you touched upon the trial and error of being a mom, and I'm curious to know what, as far as the business goes, just delving a little bit more into that, what were some trial and errors that you went through in starting the business?
The trial and errors that we faced thus far, I will say, because we're still kind of like in the early stages of things, we're still facing trial and error constantly. So one top of mind now is trying to find a vendor, or vendors, I'll say, where we can order bulk products and ingredients for our actual soaps. Because my fiance Robert, he pointed out and points out constantly that we need to find a vendor, because we're losing out on money when we purchase individual products and ingredients to make the soaps. When it comes to like purchasing like 10 pounds of goat milk soap base, we were doing that from Amazon previously, but again, we didn't expect for the business to pick up the way that it did. So trying to accommodate all of our customers within a week span, we want to rather have this like items and ingredients in inventory already, rather than saying, okay, like we have to wait for this to come in, or like wait for that to come in. We want to just have it, stock up, and just be ready to go. And then with that, also another trial and error is finding a platform to serve our customers, because initially we were selling the soaps off of Instagram, and then I created a Google Doc form for like our customers to fill out with their information, what kind of soaps they want, things like that, because I try to be super organized as possible. And that's just like what did it again, because things just picked up super fast. But now, we're on Etsy, and that's cool. But Etsy has some pros and cons. And, for me, it's more of cons right now, because we're starting so early out in the business. So with that being said, I went ahead, I purchased a domain for Bubs by the Case. I'm really happy about that. And I'm hoping to have a website through another platform, maybe like a Shopify or something like that, where it can be like a one-stop shop for everyone, where they can purchase, they can see, what new products we have out. They can read up about, why Bubs by the Case is Bubs by the Case. If they want to keep up with like a newsletter or anything like that, that's great as well too. So I'm all about making things super convenient and easy, not just for myself, but even just like from customers as well too. Because throughout this pandemic, a lot of us have shopped online, and we look for things that are easy. No one likes anything that's super complicated, because then it just like turns us off. So those are some of the trial and errors that we're going through right now.
That's such a great point. I feel like that's the key to any business. If your customer can get to you easily and they're not confused about what you're selling, and it's a simple, enjoyable process, you're so much more likely to reach successful levels in your business much faster, which sometimes, growing too fast isn't the greatest thing always, but obviously, getting your product out there and getting your vision out there to your audience is very important. So that's a great point to make. As far as your vision for the business. Can you give us a little bit more insight into that? I know you talked about that with us a little bit, and I think our listeners would love to hear about where you hope to see Bubs by the Case grow to in the future.
Sure, yeah. So for Bubs by the Case, wow, geez, it's so crazy because I just like again, I never thought that I would. I want to say this too. So like when I was younger, I made soaps. And I stuck with it for a little bit. Like I've always had like an entrepreneur mindset, but I don't know. I guess like blogging to me is something that became more, I guess, I don't know, cool, or it became cooler than like making soaps when I was younger. So I find it a bit funny how life, comes back around and it's like full circle that now that I'm a mom, here I am picking back up this thing that was once a hobby and now it's turned into a business. And my vision for Bubs by the Case is that it will grow into a full-fledged business that can be featured in stores like Trader Joe's and even Target. I love Target. Um, and I love spending my time in like the cosmetic section. So when I see like all these different vendors and everything, I'm like, oh my gosh, like one day, like I hope to have, our products in this store as well too, because, they feature a lot of people that are, once aspiring or even like minority owned businesses and small businesses and things like that. So I like definitely want to have our products featured there. And for Trader Joe's, that is a new love of mine. And I love the products that they have there as well too, because they just look homemade and it seems like really homey there. And that's like the goal that I have for Bubs by the Case is for it to be like homey and like those kind of things. So I will say too, I love candles, for example. And when I look at, people's like candle businesses and things, I think about home. And although Bubs by the Case was initially started and inspired by Cason, um, I wanted to grow into something that not only caters to babies, but a company that is well-rounded for everybody. And I think in doing so, that's going to allow me to just feature different collections. So we'll have like a baby collection, and then we'll also have, like other collections as well too. I don't know if it'll be seasonal or how I'm going to divvy that up, but I definitely see that something that we're going to be working on sooner than later, actually, because even like with the fall coming, I'm starting to think about different scents now because the fall is my favorite season. And Cason's birthday, his first birthday, is coming up in September. So I'm hoping to have like a full-fledged launch for that as well.
That's amazing. I'm excited.
I want to I mean, with Melissa and I, even just doing this podcast, and I feel like with starting anything new in your life, you always run into these moments where you have to like take the next step, and that can be scary, and sometimes it's a step in a direction that you never thought you'd be going in. Can you just talk a little bit about some of those, maybe those moments where you had to take a leap of faith or take the next step that maybe you were nervous to do, and how you convinced yourself that it was the right time to do that?
Oh my goodness. I feel like every day is a leap of faith.
I love that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. I really have to think about this for a second.
I feel like that's such a theme though to like mom life too. It's just like every moment is like, all right, I'm gonna get through to the next thing. So like I'm sure that carries over into your business so much.
Yeah.
For example, just on our side, maybe it'll trigger something. I know when we were forming our LLC, because it was like a little bit of a roadblock, everything we were trying to do, whether we were trying to like get something new on our website or set up a payment for something or our GoFundMe or anything. It kept coming up as something we needed to do. So we finally sat down and we went on LegalZoom and we decided to form the actual LLC. And we were sitting in my room and I was literally like on the verge of hyperventilating, like pushing the button to form the LLC. And I don't know I think it was just that I never anticipated like owning a business. Like it was never like something that I expected to be doing. So to be sitting there about to push the button to register a business was like terrifying.
Oh my gosh.
That's
Wow.
like a moment for us.
No, and that, okay, so what I will say is that triggered me to simply say this. I am the kind of person, and I've always been like this. I am a very spontaneous kind of person. So I feel like I've always taken leaps of faith. So, for example, like when I was in high school, I received something in the mail. I don't know how or why or, what led this letter to my home at this time, but it was for a pageant, for example, right? And growing up, like I have tried out for like The Lion King on Broadway. I've done like casting calls and things like that, but I never thought about being like a pageant girl. So with that being said, with this letter that came in the mail, I was a senior at the time, and I was like, okay, like let's do something different, because growing up, I had like a complex, about like the way that I looked and things like that. So I say all that to say that I went ahead with this pageant, and I didn't look to my family necessarily to fund this opportunity, but I actually did what I had to do to like raise the money for it. And to my surprise, I was able to do it, and I feel like that in itself was a leap of faith, because I did not know if I was going to get this money or not, but I had like a made up mind that I had to get this money, and I did it. And then I also didn't even know that I was going to end up placing like in the top. I was like first runner up in this pageant. And again, considering just like my mindset then when I was like in high school, it was like totally different from like where I am now. Like I've definitely evolved so much, and I've evolved like several times. But from there, I think that definitely like paved the way for why I feel like I can do so much more now. And I will say, something that I still battle with is not even procrastination, but just like remaining consistent. So by me starting, Bubs by the Case, that's a leap of faith as well too, because I'm pushing myself to do something. And maybe it's because, I have like my son's name on it, and it's not just about me anymore. But I want to like build something, like you said, owning a business. That's something that I want to do, even like legally and things like that. So, so yeah, like owning a business, period, is a leap of faith, and it takes a really strong person to make up their mind and say, okay, like this is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that, being able to gain confidence and reach a point in your life where you know that you can trust yourself enough to follow through on your ideas and your interests is definitely a life-changing stage to go through with anything. And I think that stage reemerges consistently when you're doing new things, like starting up a new business or trying to kind of revamp a vision or move your vision in a different direction for whatever it is you may be doing. Being able to step forward and take that leap of faith and say, all right, let's just figure it out and see what comes next. And like throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, it's definitely important to take those chances.
Yes, and I would even piggyback off of that and say, I feel like I feel like something that I'm constantly doing is like reinventing myself. I don't know what it is or like what triggers it, but for example, like even like on my Instagram page, like there comes a point in time every now and again where I'm like deleting photos off of my Instagram and I'm like, I just don't like how my page looks, or I want it to look different, or I want, this look, or whatever the case is. Like, I don't know what triggers it, but, again, when I look at myself when I was like, let's say like in my undergrad, right? I was blogging then. So my page was like full of like a bunch of like blogging stuff, like articles that I've written, different events that I've covered, different interviews that I've done, and things like that. And then there was like a transition period, or even like just like a pivotal moment where I stopped blogging and everything. And then I was on to the next thing. And I was like, okay, like I need to, take this all down. And maybe it's because like that's not what I was doing, or that's not like where I was in my life or whatever at that point. But yes, like with taking leaps of faith, it comes with a lot of different things, like just changes and just accepting like where you are in that moment in time and things like that, and just trusting the process, I think, is something that's really important too. Like, as long as you have a vision of where you want to go, I think that that makes it all the more easier to simply trust the process, because we don't know, what things are going to look like a year from now. If anyone hasn't learned anything throughout this pandemic, this whole situation is a leap of faith, because a lot of us have had plans for 2020. A lot of us, like I've had several weddings that I was going to go to, destination weddings, a bunch of plans and everything. And now things got canceled, things got postponed. And for someone who's a planner, you have to come to terms with just being comfortable with change at this point. And I think that that's something else that's like super important in this season as well too, is just learning how to adapt with change. And that comes along with trusting the process and just like faith in it until you making it, until you make it. You have to be adaptable to certain environments and the things that you go through, because the things that you go through is going to be what's going to prompt you to grow.
Yeah.
I want to ask, what would you say has been your biggest fear with regard to the business?
My biggest fear is that people are going to stop buying. That people are going to stop buying. And also my biggest fear is that, this is me just being totally honest, like in the beginning, this was a fear of mine. I had to do a lot of research, and I'm still researching like the caveats when it comes to having a soap business, because I was like, okay, like I know on certain products you'll see like FDA approved and this approval, or like clinically tested and things like that. And I was just like, everyone's different, right? So I'm like, my fear is that someone will have an allergic reaction, and then they're like, oh my God, like I'm gonna sue. I'm just afraid that I don't know, I guess that the business would die down. I think that's honest to say, because you hope that business, like with anything, like even someone who's like in event planning or whatever, you hope that you continuously receive clients and that you continuously like satisfy your customers. I would never want to disappoint any one of my customers, because we've received so much good feedback thus far. I would like to keep up with that momentum. And yeah, like I just hope that, my hope is that people continue to support us, and that I can continue to cater to what people want when it comes to things like soap and like aromatherapy and things like that.
Sure. That makes sense. Yeah, I think we all fear loss of momentum in anything we're doing with our work, and that can be a really difficult thing to come up against and figure out a way to navigate around when you go through those tough times, figuring out like, why am I losing momentum? Why is there less people interested in whatever it is that I'm doing right now? And how do I pivot off of wherever I am to get back to where I was that was attracting my customer or my audience or whatever it may be? That's definitely an issue that many businesses face, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I'll even say like the person that I am, I try to be super optimistic. So, even if that was to happen, hypothetically speaking, I think it all goes back to what I learned thus far in motherhood, or, just how I relate to it. It'll just be like solving another math equation, and you just have to figure it out. And once you figure out what's missing or what's lacking, you apply it, you alter it, whatever it is that you need to do. And then hopefully things will pick back up. But yes.
Yeah.
What would you say has been the most surprising thing that's come out of forming the business, and whether it's the connections you've made or the success you've had, or what's the most surprising thing, would you say?
The most surprising thing that I'll say that has come out of the business is the support, like the amount of support. I already knew that like on my fiance side, like he has a huge support system. He has like a big family. So I like expected for, I guess, I expected for us to have a lot of customers. But again, to my surprise, I noticed that a lot of our customers initially weren't even like family. Like I put it out there and it was like from social media. Like people saw it, and I don't know if it was because like it was inspired by Kason and his face was on it. I don't know what it was, but like a lot of our friends from social media, they were the ones who were really attracted to the business first. So I was thankful for that. And then that even gives me hope, because it's just like, oh, okay, like we have a lot more customers to set, like to sell and to serve to. Because again, like I'm thinking that like our families would have been like the immediate customers, and they, of course, like they're supporting as far as like sharing it and things like that, but they have yet to purchase. So I know that like once they purchase, like, oh yeah, that's going to be like an amazing thing.
That's awesome. Isn't that so funny how like the people you least expect to be interested in whatever it is you're creating are usually the ones that are there knocking at the door, like waiting for you to create the next thing, They're the most
Exactly.
and the most engaged. It's just crazy how that happens.
No, definitely. And it's funny because exactly what you said, Melissa, like that's exactly what happens. Like I have friends and they're like, oh my gosh, like I'm running low on like the oatmeal honey soap or whatever. So they're like, I need to re-up. Or, someone else says, oh my gosh, like my daughter, like she like really loved this soap. And they're like, I need to order some more from you or whatever. Or, oh, like, so and so's like eczema cleared up, so we're gonna order some more. And then I even have friends and people who are reaching out, giving like their own like custom ideas and like custom orders. Like, oh, like I love the way that like a mango smells. So, like if you can make like a soap with mangoes, like that would be awesome. Like I'll definitely buy. And I appreciate stuff like that because it gives me ideas as well as like inspiration for whatever the next product is going to be that we're going to drop.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that little things like that, little pieces of feedback or like testimonials about whatever it is that you're providing people with really make a difference in your creative juices as well. It's kind of like refueling your creative think tank and being able to go back and say, oh, well, that person likes this, so maybe I should add this and that to this other thing, and maybe these other people will like it too. If this person likes mangoes, maybe I could make a peach one too, or whatever it may be. It allows your mind to go in a few different directions just by getting one little piece of feedback. So that's awesome.
Definitely, definitely. And I am super excited for the fall because I'm looking forward to the feedback from people. And then, even touching on feedback, I love, again, the feedback that I get because I can then add that to whatever platform it is that we're going to use to share our business, for our website and things like that. I just like love how people express, their opinions about the brands. Like, I think it makes you feel good. It's like being at work and like being praised for like the good work that you're doing. That is something that motivates the employees and things like that. And it's like a positive work environment and all that good stuff. So it's a positive bubs by the case over here.
That's so good to hear.
So we talked about, the leap of faith and the fears in starting the business, the surprises, and, kind of the ups and downs, roller coasters of all these different things. The one thing to kind of wrap everything up, whether it's like a piece of advice or
So, a quote that I try to live by and that I have lived by thus far is never let the fear of striking out ever keep you from playing the game.
That's great. How much more relevant can you get? That just carries over into overcoming fears in any area in your life. And that's such a great mindset to be able to develop and then carry through all the transformations you go through.
Yeah, definitely. When I applied that quote initially, like I was competing in a pageant. And then again, like just with everything, like you just have to, again, faith it till you make it. Even though you can't see what things are going to look like what the end result is going to be, if you want something, you have to put your mind over the matter. And I think that when you do that, that definitely sets you up and positions you for greatness. Because, I mean, there's so many components when it comes to the things that like we want or whatever you want to call it. But when you have something that you are aspiring to reach or a goal, when you put your best foot forward and you try to be as positive as possible and block out all of the negative things, you just do it, once you make up your mind to do it.
Yeah, I think it's all about being positive and tenacious. If you can pair those two things together and step forward with a clear vision for anything that you're looking to create or do with your life, your ride through the journey is going to be just that much smoother.
I agree.
Yeah, and even I feel like flexibility too, like not having such a rigid view of what tomorrow is going to look like. Chey, even with your business, I mean, you put something out there and you didn't expect it to take off the way that it did, but you were open to it and positive about it and excited for it. And instead of letting oh wait, I wasn't ready for this hold you back, you embrace it and you move forward and you say, all right, what's the next step now? What do I have to do to accommodate everything?
Yep. And that's exactly what I'm doing. And it's been seriously, like, it's just been like a blessing, honestly, like even just considering again, like the time when all of this came to mind and this was like dropped upon me. I'm super grateful because this happened in a pandemic when I'm not working. I was like laid off, but I had something to occupy my time. And even like with that whole situation, I like wasn't pressed, nor did I stress about that. I was just like, okay, like it is what it is. Like no one ever would have thought that a whole world, like a whole country would be affected by a virus. So again, like you just have to roll with the punches and accept the fact that this is something that we don't have control over and just try to make the best of it. And that's exactly what I'm doing. And I would definitely say that I am an example of someone who tries to apply positive thinking and faith and just like, I guess, great things to my life, like constantly, because I feel like what you put out is what you receive back in return. That's good karma. So yeah, I mean, if everyone thought like this, I think the world would be a much greater place to live in.
Yeah. It's like we're faced with an opportunity to either sit around and sulk in our fears and our anxieties about things, or to catapult ourselves forward into life and just be relentless and like resistant to anything that's going to try to pull us down. And I think that this virus has taught us a lot about that. And anything that like you go through in your career and your schooling, your business and your entrepreneurial journeys can all be related back to that point of like just letting go of the fear, moving past that and getting past the anxiety instead of wallowing in that, allowing it to teach you a lesson so that you can move forward and just be that much stronger. It's really important.
I agree.
Well, Chey, this has been such a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think there's been so many great points brought up. Could you just tell our listeners the best way to find you through social media and also your website and anything else that you would like us to link to right now? And for everyone listening, we'll link to all of that in the show notes for you to make things easy.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. So first, I just want to say thank you, ladies, again. This has definitely been a wonderful conversation. I'm super grateful for you guys, you ladies, reaching out to me and asking me to be a part of your podcast platform. So I'm super grateful. And as far as keeping up with me and Bubs by the Case, Kason actually has his own Instagram page, and that's Baby Showcase. So that's baby, BABY, show, SHOW, case, CAYS. And his website is bubsbythecase.com. So that's BUBBS by the case, CAYS.com. And although the website is not launched as of yet, once folks head over to the website, they are going to be prompted to enter their email address to keep up with our newsletter. So I would definitely encourage everyone to enter their email addresses there. And then just for me, my personal Instagram is She's Cheylyn, and that's SHESCHEYLYN.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. We think you're amazing and so inspiring, and we're looking forward to following your journey with your business and your son and watching all the amazing things that you're going to do.
Thank you. And I'm looking forward to following you ladies and seeing where your podcast goes, because I know it's going to go great places, because this is a wonderful platform and you guys are talking about awesome stuff.
Thank you so much. It really means a lot. And we're hoping to get connected to many more like-minded people who are feeling it too. So thanks for being a part of it. And we'll definitely be talking soon.